from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge Studios. This is On Palmer.
Welcome in. Let's Palmer here with you on a Wednesday. In Baton Rouge Studio, downtown in the capital city. London Villarreal and Taylor Sharp on the ones and twos. Got a lot to get to here over the next 2 hours. Glad you're with us. Going to get JD Piquel here from On3 Sports talking college football in 15 minutes. Going to get you a recruiting update, all things going on the recruiting side of things, as well as the transfer portal. That is at 1:30. Brody Miller from The Athletic covers LSU football. He'll be with us at 2 o'clock. Got some college basketball rulings over in Tucson, I should say. And then we're going to crank up something new. I haven't decided if I want to do it every week, but I do feel like it is moving into basketball season here. I think that most people can realize there's one fairly insignificant football game to be played. Once they come out on the field, you'll be fired up and ready to go. But how much Purdue are we going to break down here over the next 3 weeks? Probably not a ton. It is basketball season, and if you're like a lot of people in the LSU fan base, you haven't paid too much attention to what's going on the hardwood. I'll get you caught up on where we are in the SEC to this point in the middle of December with some SEC basketball power rankings at 2:30. But we start with last night inside the PMAC. LSU hosted North Carolina Central, their first home game in a couple of weeks. They had a trip over to the Caymans, to Atlanta. They had finals, so hadn't been in the PMAC in a while, and they got in there last night and got a 67-57 win over North Carolina Central. I was there. Just good to see him back out on the hardwood again. Good to be inside the PMAC, and the Tigers do get a win. Was it a work of art? Probably not, but it did take some things away from it, so we'll get into those. Your opening hour, I want to remind you, brought to you by Sunshine Quality Solutions. Visit Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana, for your equipment needs. Tigers 67, North Carolina Central 57. Last night, the big change was that LSU and Matt McMahon decided to go with Cam Hayes and Derek Fountain in the starting lineup. I had mentioned yesterday those two guys had gotten increased minutes over the last couple of games, and he rewarded those minutes with a start last night against the Eagles. It paid off pretty quick. Cam Hayes made the first bucket, and then Derek Fountain scored the next 11 for LSU. So those two combined to score your first 13 points. I'll tell you this, and this is not of relevance to really anyone in Baton Rouge. That's my audience, so I should probably steer away from it. But it did stand out last night. I was really impressed with NCCU and their coach and their energy and the efficiency with which they played. It's a MEAC school. Their budget's limited. They are what they are. I think they're going to crush people in the MEAC based on what I saw last night. But that is beside the point. We're talking about LSU here. A big play in the game was Chris Monroe getting his second foul for NCCU with 16:56 to play in the first half. He didn't play again in the first half. He is their best three-point shooter, a team that shoots the three really well, and he was 1 for 1 at that point. He knocked down his first one, and then he sat for 16 minutes in the first half. LSU outscored the Eagles 19-5 over the last 7 minutes and 14 seconds of the first half to take a 14-point lead into the halftime. It was touch and go there in the first 12 minutes of the first half. NCCU was playing with LSU, was making shots, was making things difficult on LSU defensively with some pressure man-to-man. But LSU did kind of impose its will late to take a 14-point lead into the half. Right out of halftime, NCCU goes on a quick 7-0 run to cut the deficit in half. From that point, LSU basically kept them at arm's length. It didn't appear LSU was in any danger from that point forward. NCCU was exactly what I said they were yesterday, really to a T. They were the number 4 three-point shooting team in college basketball. They shot 47% from the three-point line last night, 7 of 15. It seemed like everyone they threw up was going in, quite honestly, but they don't shoot too many of them. They only shot 15. LSU owned the glass against a team with one 7-footer, one 6'8" guy that didn't play all that much, and a bunch of guards. So LSU dominated them on the backboards. When the dust settled there, it was a 45-31 advantage. And LSU in this game, you look at it, God, they only scored 67 points. That's really poor offense against a MEAC team. They've got to do a better job than that. Yeah, I would agree, but you look up and you shot 41% of the floor. You were 4 of 25 from the three-point line. That includes an 0 of 8 from Adam Miller. You didn't shoot it well from the free throw line, 11 of 18. So it wasn't as if the offense couldn't solve the defense. You shot it terrible last night. And that's an issue with this team. You've got guys out there who aren't great shooters. Juice Hill's not a great shooter. Trey Hannibal's not a great shooter. They are out there a lot. Cam Hayes in his college basketball career has not been a great shooter. Derek Fountain is a fairly new offensive player. When he was at Mississippi State, he was a defense and rebounding type of guy. So it's not to completely excuse the 67 points, but more often than not, you're not going 4 of 25 from 3. Your best player's not going 0 of 8 from 3, and you're not going to shoot 11 of 18 from free throws. You knock down 3 more of those threes to go 7 of 25, which ain't exactly lighting it up, and you go 15 of 18 from 3, all of a sudden you've added right there, that's 9 and 4, that's 13 extra points. I mean, that looks a lot better. You score 80, you win the game by 23. The margin there is pretty tight. So I don't totally panic when I look at 67 points. I'm concerned, but it's not like they couldn't handle the ball. They couldn't get an open look. They just missed a ton of shots last night. Some things that I liked in the game, obviously Fountain with 17 and 14 was a really nice revelation that started to come on. This is what we're talking about when you've heard the cliche over and over and over again. This team's trying to find itself. It's Matt McMahon. They're trying to figure out what they got. This is that. Derek Fountain didn't play much early. Now he's starting the game, giving you 17 and 14. That's finding something. Cam Hayes, 2 more assists in the game last night, just 1 turnover. He's only turned it over 1 time in the last 2 games with 8 assists. That's really good for a guy who had some turnover issues and some inefficiency issues at NC State. Those 2 guys are a nice find. KJ continues to play well, 18 points and 12 rebounds. That's a good thing. And the defense, for the most part, was pretty good. You forced 14 turnovers, and you held them to 44% shooting from the floor. 57 points, not going to hurt you. So the defense continues to be pretty good. The offense is not good. And that's going to be a real problem when LSU faces some of these great defenses in the SEC, and there are a few. Tennessee is ferocious on defense. Mississippi State has played great defense. Kentucky is so long and athletic. Auburn's got another incredible shot blocker down there. Eric Musselman's team's going to play defense. Buzz Williams' team over in College Station may not be super talented. They're going to play defense. So it's a concern that they're not scoring more points than they are. Last night being part of that. But they've done some good things on defense. I'll tell you one thing that I noticed, just watching the flow of the game. This wouldn't show up in the box score, but I watched it in the flow of the game. Matt McMahon called up 2 really nice baseline out-of-bound plays, and they got 2 layups, which was really nice to see. I know there are a lot of people, myself included, that were frustrated with some of the out-of-bounds plays over the last couple of years. I saw a team that a lot of times didn't hustle on and cut hard on out-of-bounds plays. I saw a team that spent way too much time just lobbing the ball back towards half court and having a jump ball between a guard and a defender who could tip it away and maybe get a layup. They did a little bit better job coming on the out of bounds, those set plays that you draw up, and that was really nice to see. So those are some positives. On the negative side, a couple of guys who were starters at the beginning of the year have kind of faded away and are not a big impact on this team right now. So as Derek Fountain and Cam Hayes move up, somebody's got to move back. Imwani Wilkinson played 4 minutes last night. He's really a non-factor. And you've got a team that plays pretty good defense and needs some offensive punch, which Hayes and Fountain are providing, and Imwani doesn't give you that. He's not going to put it on the floor. He's not going to create for anybody else. He's going to stand in the corner, and if he gets open, he's a good shooter from there. If he is open because you penetrate and kick it to him, he can help you there. But they don't need a lot more defense. They need guys that can score, and Imwani doesn't really give you that. Jalen Reed last night played 12 minutes. He's been a starter on this team. Played 12 minutes. He was 0 of 1 from the floor in 12 minutes against a team with very little size. He had 1 field goal attempt in 12 minutes. He had 2 rebounds. He had 2 fouls. When I see Jalen Reed at 6'10", take the ball up the floor in a college basketball game, you look at it and go, whoa, that's impressive. But somehow, even with his ability to look very natural, moving the ball up the floor off the bounce, he never really attacks off the dribble to score. He doesn't get open and knock down perimeter shots or 12-footers. He's not really around the rim much to catch alley-oops or he's just a big, athletic, fluid-looking guy who hasn't done a lot. And that's disappointing at this point in the season because you only have 2 more games left in the non-conference before the rubber meets the road. So on the positive side, you've got some guys like Fountain and Hayes stepping up. On the negative side, you've got some guys who are regressing with their role and their production. Those two are that. So again, you've got a good record. The one game you did lose, it's the official's fault at the end. But there's some significant warts on this team, and they've got some real limitations, specifically offensively, and I think they're going to rear their ugly head come conference play. But they've got a couple weeks. Maybe Hayes and Fountain take more steps. KJ's got his feet under him. You figure Adam Miller's going to get it right back into gear. I'm not concerned about that. Yeah, he was awful last night. 1 of 10, 0 of 8. 0 of 10. Don't want to spot him anything. 0 of 10 and 1 of 8. I did one again. 0 of 10 from the floor, 0 of 8 from 3. Turned the ball over 3 times in 28 minutes. It was bad, but keep shooting. You shot at an unbelievable clip for a month. Keep shooting. If he's a very, very poor shooter the rest of the way, they're not going to win many games anyway. Go down with what you got, and Adam Miller's one of the things you got, so he's got to get it into gear. They got a lot of work to do, but it was nice getting the PMAC and watch them play. Their next game will be Saturday inside the PMAC. They win again by a final score of 67-57. I'll talk about the other teams in the Southeastern Conference coming up at 2:30 with some power rankings there. On the basketball side of things, opening hour on Wednesdays brought to you by Sunshine Quality Solution. Save your Saturdays for watching football or basketball, not chores. It's Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. They've got the equipment that comes in a variety of horsepowers and attachment configurations to tackle any job on your property. With tractor deals up to 20% off list price, their deals are undefeated. For more information with Sunshine in stores or online at sunequip.com. We'll come back with J.D. Piquel of On 3 Sports next on the Hunt Palmer Show, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is on Palmer.
Start NFL Week 15 off right with the same game parlay insurance with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Doesn't matter if you're new to FanDuel or if you already have an account, you'll get free bets back if your 4+ leg Thursday night same game parlay falls just 1 leg short. NFL same game parlays are the perfect way to combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payday. Bet on Christian McCaffrey's rushing yards, Geno Smith throwing passing yards. Check it out. Watch some Thursday night football with some money on the line. You can build your own parlay or choose from one of the popular same game parlays pre-built for you in one of FanDuel's top-rated sportsbook. However you want to play, you can bet the NFL on Thursday night with a same-game parlay. Just sign up with a promo code 1045ESPN if you don't already have an account. If you already have FanDuel, you're all set. Just sign in to see what you got. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Must be 21 and present in Louisiana. Refund issues, non-withdrawable free bets. Expires 7 days after receipt. Max free bet $25. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. If you're someone who has a gambling problem, what's help? Call 1-877-770-STOP.
Sky, I've got that sunshine.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Nearly half of children in foster care drop out of school. But you can rewrite that story. Change a child's story. Become a volunteer today.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Time doesn't stop, and the world keeps spinning. Community, culture, and communications, the powerful circle that connects us together. We're creating the next evolution, a network built for every possibility, moving faster than ever before, streaming us forward into the future. And the revolution is closer than you think. RTC, ATEL, and Vision are now Rev. New name, same company.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Me, Jimmy, on for the Wednesday edition of Game Time. We're live at City Slice Pints and Pizza on Chime Street, just outside the north gates of LSU, sweating all of our action on the 6-screen video wall. It's Game Time, 6 to 8 p.m. from City Slice on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Opening hour here on Hunt Palmer Show on Wednesdays, brought to you by Sunshine Quality Solutions. Visit Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana, for all your equipment needs. Get out to the Jim's Firearms Hotline. JD Piquel of On 3 Sports with us every Wednesday. JD, how are you?
Gentlemen, doing great. How we doing over there? We got some juice on Hard Hat Wednesday. We keeping it all rolling.
We got some juice. I'm curious for you, putting out the content that you do this part of the calendar here, this 2-3 weeks before the big-time bowl games crank up. What's most interesting? Coaching carousel, transfer portal, the recruiting side of things, looking and evaluating at how teams performed from September through December. What gets you going right now?
Yeah, fortunately, college football has become a 12-month-a-year sport, which gives someone like me a job. And the transfer portal, just plays such a big part of that. We really have the equivalent of college football free agency. And it's also becoming a matter where it's becoming more and more public. Like it used to be, hey, this kid's going to transfer. I won't see him for 2 years. Anyway, it's out a year. It's all very hush-hush. Now it's like, hey, this kid's taking business to Wisconsin and Virginia and this place. And, it's all very much so public. So tracking the wild world that is the transfer portal and how college football is trying to adjust on the fly. Both sides from a coaching standpoint and a talent acquisition standpoint and a player standpoint is all just fascinating. So that's kind of the mountain we're trying to chip away at here, one video at a time, but a pleasure to do so. And the farthest thing from work.
I'll be touching on a little bit of that from the LSU side here in 10 minutes after we wrap things up with you. I wanted to do some big picture stuff with you here, specifically in the SEC, JD, if I could. Billy Napier, 6-6 in his first year. Anthony Richardson's going to move on. Kind of your sense on the overall picture in Gainesville with Napier.
I think the immediate feeling when you look at that record is, oh, man, they kind of stayed the same. I guess that they didn't really work out too well. Is he a fit? Was that a good hire? I think the folks that will take a more in-depth look at the Florida Gators season will see, okay, a lot of good pieces. And as good as Anthony Richardson is, as good as he was at times, he was also pretty inconsistent. Like Saturday in, Saturday out, you weren't sure what you were going to get from him each and every Saturday. If it was good AR, hey, we got a shot to beat anybody. If it's bad AR, we might be going back and forth with Missouri in the second and third quarter. So I think just the way that they're built is exciting if they can get the more consistent piece at quarterback, especially via the transfer portal. And truthfully, a lot of what Billy Napier did in year one was trying to use pieces that he inherited. Like, a lot of the issues for Florida were depth and what they didn't have in that front seven depth-wise, and trying to figure out the defense in the SEC. And I mean, Hunt, you and I both know if you don't have depth in the SEC, especially where it counts from the big boys in the trenches, like, it's hard to win football games in November, and it's hard to win close games. Florida lost 3 games by 1 score. So all that to say, the record doesn't tell the whole story. I think Billy Napier still is the right guy. He's got a huge emphasis on talent acquisition. Everyone's seen the team photo with like 1 million extra people in blue polos. They're all there to bring the right people to Gainesville, whether it's the portal, whether it's recruiting. So I got a lot of faith in Billy Napier, and I don't think 6-6 is the way we should label him, and I think they'll be in good shape going forward if they can get the right guy at quarterback.
And you mentioned that depth in the SEC. LSU is basically playing 3 defensive tackles all year, and they couldn't stop the run worth a lick against A&M or Georgia in the last 2 games they played. So potentially an issue there for the Tigers. A lot of juice around the Arkansas program back in the summer, entering the fall, coming off 9 wins, both coordinators back again, starting quarterback back again, and it just didn't materialize for them this year. Now Barry Odom is moving on. You're losing a lot of guys that were seniors and super seniors in the last 2 teams. Are you a little concerned with the next couple of years under Sam Pittman up in Fayetteville?
I don't know if I'm enormously concerned. I think they're going to have to fill those positions accordingly, right? I mean, figuring out who's going to be the next DC at Arkansas, they better fill that, in a really effective way, not so much just efficient, but effective. So I think the culture is still something that I would bet on if I'm Sam Pittman or I'm thinking about coming to Arkansas. I think there's still a lot there. I think the bones are good. But we saw this year with like a really good car with somewhat average tires, and that flat tire that kept coming up was the secondary, and that continued to be the issue for them week in and week out. And keeping KJ Jefferson was healthy, didn't really help matters. So for them to reach the hype that I think we all set before them this year, that was assuming things would be close to perfect circumstances, and they would have a healthy quarterback, and the secondary wouldn't get gashed like they did. And so to have both those things not go their way throughout the course of the season, I think is why they had the good they did, obviously. But I'm not overly concerned with the future. As long as Sam Pittman's the head guy there, I got a lot of confidence in the Hogs and being able to continue to be right around the fringe of that top tier in the SEC.
Chatting with J.D. Piquel, host of the Hard Count over on the On 3 Sports YouTube channel. Grayson McCall, quarterback at Coastal Carolina, had some really good seasons with the Chanticleers, has entered the transfer portal, and the reports are he may be visiting Coach Freeze down there at Auburn sometime soon. Does that marriage make sense?
I think it makes a lot of sense. I mean, especially with what they have right now with Robbie Ashford at quarterback. I think Robbie Ashford's a huge talent, tons of ability, was highly touted and highly recruited for a reason. But with what you're taking over as, the Auburn program, like the car itself at Auburn isn't enormously reliable. It's not very much a souped-up operation. So do I want someone who just got their license driving the car, or do I want someone with 30-plus games of experience and a lot of good numbers under their belt at the college football level driving the car? And so I think Grayson McCall, just the experience he could infuse there, and also his dual threat ability, married with that experience, could kind of be the Band-Aid for them with what they don't have personnel-wise right now. So I'm excited to see what ends up happening with Grayson McCall. It makes sense for a couple other places as well. I know Florida's probably in the mix. But Auburn would be the place where, if I'm an Auburn Tiger fan, I am hoping, begging, pleading, hitting my knees and praying that we land Grayson McCall in Auburn, Alabama.
We'll see if that tends to be the case. Let's move over to the ACC here quickly. I'm fascinated by Clemson because that run they had with Deshaun Watson and Trevor Lawrence was unbelievable, and they passed the baton to DJU, and it never quite clicked. Cade Klubnik's next, and we'll see him in the Iron Bowl. Do you expect a return to that level of play for Clemson, or are there more issues than just the quarterback?
I do expect them to return back to that top tier, but you look at the games that they lost this year. Did DJU, throw him out of some of those games? Like, was he that caliber player, like you said, Deshaun Watson and Trevor Lawrence? Like, did he have that star it factor? No. But also gave up 200-plus yards on the ground to Notre Dame. You had a blocked punt. Like, there was more than just DJU being the problem there. So I think that it's going to have to be revamped. But truthfully, what I saw against North Carolina with Cade Klubnik, like, I saw a whole different response from that program with him in the game. Like, it looked like the defense had better pep in their step. It looked like overall they just had a better game flow with him at quarterback. So I'm curious to see if that's going to be now the consistent variable, or if it's kind of like the jumpstart effect where you put in a new quarterback, little bit of new excitement, and everybody feels good about it. So, we'll see what happens there. But to answer your question, I do think Cade Klubnik is a better solution going forward. And I also do firmly believe that if he had been ready to go earlier in the year, I mean, Dabo said as much in his press conference, hey, we tried to play him in the Notre Dame game, and he just wasn't ready. So I'm excited to see his growth and his progress, and excited to see what Clemson ends up being with him at the helm going forward.
Talent is intoxicating. We'll see him in the Orange Bowl. A couple backup quarterbacks will play in that one. J.D. Piquel of On3 Sports, our guest here each and every Wednesday. Last one here. It'd be remiss if I didn't ask you for your favorite Mike Leach anecdote that's been flying around after the tragic loss of the Mississippi State head football coach.
Man, so tragic. I mean, I got a chance as a freelance guy to go and cover the Holiday Bowl. I had a website I made up and applied for credentials. Somehow got approved, and I'll never forget sitting in that press conference before the game. So they had like their media day on. I guess it was Thursday or Friday, games on Saturday, and the Michigan State head coach is speaking. They were playing Washington State when Mike Leach was at Washington State. And as Mark D'Antonio's speaking, Mike Leach is over there just profusely blowing on his coffee. And up to this point, I had only kind of seen snippets about Mike Leach. I had only seen him on TV. And there's always that cynicism in the back of your head that creeps in. Well, this is kind of an act. This is just kind of, who he portrays himself to be. And in that moment where I saw him just not caring at all about what was going on around him, just profusely blowing on the coffee, I was like, no, this is legitimately who he is. He speaks to his own drum. He is his own man. And in the lobby, got to pass by him and just introduce myself and wish him luck on the game. And he was the one asking questions to me. He was the one being intentional with me. And so I don't pretend to know Mike Leach well or that I was close to him by any stretch of the imagination. But just in that snapshot, the small few minutes I got with him. Was clearly somebody that cared about other people well and lived life with a full heart and a lot of joy, and was just someone who, obviously we all gravitated towards. So college football world in general lost a great man. So thoughts and prayers seem to be with the Leach family and the Mississippi State community.
No doubt about it. Very well said. J.D. Piquel of On3 Sports, host of The Hard Count. You can find him on YouTube, on Twitter, at J.D. Piquel. J.D., next week we'll have some football to talk about. Let's do it again.
Looking forward to it. Have a great one.
You too. He is J.D. Piquel. Appreciate his thoughts. It's just everybody it was one of those deals where everybody that was near him had some sort of interaction, and it sticks with you. It's speaking of Mike Leach, it's remarkable the indelible impact that he had on so many people of just being his own person. I guess that's the mantra of swing your sword. So appreciate JD for filling us in on that. Opening hour brought to you by Sunshine Solutions. Visit Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana, for your equipment needs. Still plenty to get to here on this Wednesday. Brody Miller from The Athletic at 2 o'clock talking about the IARP ruling on Arizona coming up in hour number 2 as well. I'll give you some SEC basketball thoughts in hour 2. When we come back, football. We're in turbo drive with recruiting. Some movement over on the recruiting websites happened over the last 24 hours. We'll get to that. Javian Toviano's announcement comes up tomorrow, so I'll talk a little bit about that. And there's a couple guys in the transfer portal that I want to mention as well, so don't go anywhere. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
LWCC is Louisiana loyal. They elevate and celebrate champions of Louisiana each and every month here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. And December's champion of Louisiana, Mimosa Handcraft. I've been telling you about them for a few weeks now. You know by now the story of Madeline Ellis, who is a landscape architect who loved to make jewelry. And her husband, Dawson, said, hey, stop being a landscape architect and make jewelry. So she did. And now Mimosa Handcrafted has built its first brick-and-mortar location, open there at 541 South Eugene Street, right next to Red Stick Reeds. Just in time for some holiday shopping. And when you shop at Mimosa Handcrafted, 1% of every sale is put through the Goods for Good campaign, which allows customers to select from a list of charitable causes like the Greater Baton Rouge Food Bank, the Mental Health Association for Greater Baton Rouge. Awesome stuff that Mimosa Handcrafted is doing, and we appreciate LWCC for letting them tell their story. If you know someone doing some awesome stuff like Madeline Ellis is, or you know a nonprofit or some entity that does great work in our community, we want to know about it. Go to lwcc.com/champions and enter them to be a champion for Louisiana so that we can tell the story right here on the Hunt Palmer Show. Mimosa Handcrafted, December's champion of Louisiana, presented by LWCC.
My dad just really enjoyed his life, and he enjoyed smoking cigars and thought he was invincible. My stepdad quit smoking, and he really felt like he was in the clear. Sorry. I wish they would have been screened annually. It's not just you affect, it's your entire family.
For more information on Ochsner's free smoking cessation program and to see if you qualify for early lung screenings, visit ochsner.org/quit.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $11,000 off MSRP plus 2.9% for 72 months on all new 2022 Ram Black Widow trucks in stock. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty and free delivery. If you need sales or service, the crew at Bayou is going to do right by you.
Service Master Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact Service Master Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. Service Master Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Oh, hey, what's up? It's Big D and Bubba, 100.7 The Tiger Morning Show. We'd love for you to join us every weekday, 4 a.m. till 9 a.m.
Yeah, everything you want in a show. Country music. We got laughs. We got celebrity in-studio guests. We just need you.
Join us every weekday morning, 4 a.m. to 9 a.m., right where it all started.
That's right. Louisiana's country station, 100.7 The Tiger.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Le posso offrire un caffè? Andiamo insieme da me, non c'è.
Call Mr. Electric today for electrical repairs, upgrades, and installations.
Up on Thursday's OTB, the latest at LSU's bowl prep, and in a lost season, can the Saints still sweep the Falcons? Plus, Pels looking to get a little revenge on the Utah Jazz. Off the bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Opening hour here on Wednesdays brought to you by Sunshine. Visit Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana, for your equipment needs. Appreciate J.D. Pickell for jumping aboard. Brody Miller with us in 30 minutes here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Tigers get a commitment over the last 24 hours. This is one of the things that I personally don't like about recruiting, because I like to pronounce people's names correctly, and half the time when I see a recruit's name, I got no chance. And so I'm about to give you two in this segment, and I don't know how to pronounce either one of their names. Jackson McGowan? I don't know. McGohan. It feels like it might be McGowan, because that's like a common name, even though it wouldn't be spelled phonetically right. It doesn't matter. He's a good tight end. He's 6'4", 235 pounds, from Miamisburg, Ohio. Was committed to Cincinnati, and LSU has taken him away. And this is very much in line with what Brian Kelly wants to do. I always felt really good in the Ed Ogeron era when they went and got a big-time edge rusher. I thought he was very, very good at evaluating those players and bringing them in. Caleb Von Chason was a guy that you figured was going to be a star, and he ended up being a great, great player and a first-round pick. Same thing goes for Arden Key. Same thing goes for B.J. Ojulari. I mean, when he brings those guys in, you feel like they're going to be really good players. I feel that way with Brian Kelly on offensive linemen and tight ends. And you understand that Mason Taylor is in the boat and had a really nice freshman year. You understand that Mac Markway is in the boat, and you expect him to be a really nice player. And Jackson McGowan, maybe, depends on how you want to say it, is next in line. He's got long arms. He high points the football. I watched some tape on him. He's not an elite explosive athlete, but he's a tight end. You don't have to be. He does catch the ball with his hands. He does have a very long wingspan, and he does high point the ball very well. So this is a guy that Brian Kelly, Mike Denbrock, and his staff identified, and they wanted to get him into this class, and they did yesterday. So Jackson McGowan is now next into LSU's recruiting class. Hopefully, the next one, we get to another name that I don't know how to pronounce, with Javian Toviano, I don't know how you say it either. Apologies. But you know who he is by now. If you listen to this show or pay attention to the Tigers, he will announce tomorrow at 11 o'clock Central Time, and that's a big one for LSU. We have gone over this time and time again where LSU stands in terms of corners. They need depth in a big way. They need it from the high school ranks. They need it from the transfer portal ranks. We've talked about Javian Toviano. We've talked about Desmond Ricks. We've talked about Denver Harris. We've talked about a lot of different guys that may be potentially available to LSU. And Toviano is next up, and he could commit to LSU as soon as 11 o'clock Central tomorrow. So I wanted to mention that today because when we go on at 1 o'clock tomorrow, that decision will be made, and hopefully it is good news for the home team. The indications are that things look good on that front. When you read Toviano's actions, as Shea Dixon always loves to say, our guy from On3 Sports, this is where he's been the most, and he hasn't really been anywhere else in the foreseeable past, like in the recent past. So it feels like Toviano is a lean to LSU, but it's never done until it's done. In fact, it's not even done tomorrow, but it's a good start if you can get him in. Speaking of cornerbacks, Kamari Rogers has entered the transfer portal. Who is that? Maybe it sounds familiar. He was an LSU commitment for a time while he was a high school player. Ended up signing with Miami. Played 1 year there, didn't play very much, and has entered the transfer portal. I don't know if he didn't play because he wasn't ready, if Miami had an extreme depth at corner. I don't pretend to be a guy who knows a ton about Miami secondary play. They weren't very good this year. I know that as far as the team goes, but they did have some players in the secondary. Maybe Rodgers is not the player that he was thought to be when he was a four-star recruit in high school. Maybe he is and just didn't get a chance. This staff certainly is familiar with him, so that's another name that you can potentially look for out of the transfer portal at the cornerback position. So, McGowan's in, Toviano tomorrow, Kamari Rogers in the transfer portal. Those are things to look at this point. Also, LSU, as far as just the way the ratings go, and this means a ton to some people and not very much at all to other people, and I understand both sides of the coin. I am one who very much believes in the evaluation that these sites and talent prognosticators put together, and if you're consistently in the top 10, you've got a chance to win conference championships and national championships. If you're continuously somewhere 18 to 40, you're not. That's just how that works. And so they get every single one right? They don't. Are they right more often than not? They are. And LSU got a little bit of a bump thanks to some of the sites yesterday. Zalance Hurd, now a consensus 5-star, 247 bumped him up, so everybody's got Zalance Hurd as a 5-star prospect. Of course, the offensive lineman out of Neville, who is part of a really, really nice-looking offensive line class for Brad Davis and LSU, so he is now a consensus 5-star recruit. And Deshaun Womack, who is a big-time defensive end prospect, got his 5th star on 247 as well. So Tigers at this point, looking pretty good as far as the sites go. LSU on 3, which is where I do a little bit of work on the baseball side of things, is up to number 5 in the country. They've got 24 commitments. They've got 1 5-star, which is Hurd, 16 4-stars. 2 5-stars because they moved Deshaun Womack up. So the class is deep, and it's got some real eye catchers at the top. So Lance Hurd's a 5-star everywhere. Shelton Sampson, a 5-star on 3. A couple of the sites don't quite feel the same, but Deshaun Womack, a 5-star on 3. And you've got some really highly thought of 4-stars like Jalen Brown, the wide receiver, Dalen Austin at corner, big position of need, so that's a big get for LSU. Jackson Howard, edge rusher, is a 4-star across the board. DJ Chester, part of that offensive line class. So you get the picture. LSU's class is thought of very, very strongly right now. And this is still a time where we have to consider something we were talking about maybe once a week in the summer. This year in the state, LSU had a really uphill battle to fight. They were not going to get Arch Manning. Was not going to happen. They were not going to get a number of the guys at the top. Eli Holstein was not coming to LSU. He already saw Walker Howard on the depth chart. That wasn't going to happen. And you start looking around. Jaden Ausberry was not going to come to LSU. There was no pitch you could sell to Jaden Ausberry on LSU that he didn't already know. His dad played here and has worked here his entire life. He went to school on campus. You're not going to be wowed when you walk into the new football ops center. He's been there with dad a bunch. Wow, look at this environment in Tiger Stadium. Yeah, I've been coming here since I was 5. So they were fighting an uphill battle in the state with some of the really top players. So for them to write at this point, and they're not done. Toviano tomorrow, maybe Ricks. We'll see what moves down the line. But the likelihood is they're going to be a top 5 class when it's all said and done. And that's a very, very encouraging thing. I don't think anybody really questioned whether or not Brian Kelly could put together a staff. I don't think anybody really questioned whether or not Brian Kelly has been a really, really good coach when he's a favorite in games. There are a lot of things that the track record shows you about what kind of coach that Brian Kelly has been. One thing that's not on his track record is jumping down into South Louisiana and swimming with the Sharks in the SEC in recruiting and coming out on top. Putting the fence around Louisiana, all these type of things that we talk about with recruiting, that's not on his track record. You know this. I know this is not new information to anybody. But by all accounts, and when you look at there's now really 4 sites doing this full time. On3 is brand new to the scene, and people find cutting edge. 247 was really the most trusted evaluation site out there for 5-7 years. ESPN has put a lot of money into this. And Rivals is still around. And the consensus among them is that LSU's class is excellent. It's not like one says, yeah, you're 4th, and the other one says, well, look at that. Like this is like the 21st ranked class. No, they all think this class is great, and it looks like it's going to get better over the next couple of weeks before the early signing period. So it's a really encouraging thing. All signs point to Toviano being in the boat, and then you got to go to the transfer portal and make things happen with your roster that were not things that we talked about 4 years ago. So roster management is so vital this day and age in college football. It's more so than recruiting. It's more so than who to redshirt, which doesn't happen anymore. It's not building a program like it used to be. It's managing your roster. Guys are going to leave more than they've ever left. You have more access to college players than you've ever had. And at this point, it would be hard to say that Brian Kelly hasn't done a really, really good job with that. Was I happy when they got routed by Texas A&M? No. Was I happy with the offensive output in Fayetteville? No. Were the special teams always awesome? No. They cost you a game in New Orleans. Did you play great football in this first half against Auburn? No. Like, there are still some concerns with the program. I'm not trying to sit here and tell you, pump this purple and gold sunshine that we see all the time on Twitter and a lot of it's like there are some issues and there are some things they've got to get better at. But the number one thing this day and age in college football is managing your roster. If it falls apart via recruiting of the transfer portal, you've got no shot. And the opposite is happening in Baton Rouge. They're not losing a ton out of the transfer portal as far as starting contributing players. They've done a really good job of adding guys that have made impacts in the transfer portal. And the first full signing class for this staff with Brian Kelly and Brian Polian and all this staff that they put together has been encouraging. So that's a very, very good thing. On3's got LSU as the 5th-ranked class. We'll see what happens over the next couple of weeks before ink meets paper. But right now, things seem to be in pretty good shape. At Sunshine, we know ease of use is important when it comes to buying equipment. Our John Deere compact tractors offer versatility to go from the yard, camp, or to the field with compact tractors up to 20% off list price with 0% financing. Now is a great time to get powered by Sunshine. Visit us online at sunequip.com to to apply for financing, get a quote, and learn more about our specials. Some restrictions apply. See dealer for details. Offer ends December 31st of 2022. Rocking and rolling here on a Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Second hour is going to be fast-moving. Brody Miller at the top talking all things LSU football. A lot of people have asked me, why does Brian Polian still have a job? Well, Brody's going to talk about that. Plus, he wrote a big transfer portal piece on The Athletic, so we'll talk with Brody at 2 o'clock. Basketball power rankings for the SEC at 2:30. We always finish things up with Take It or Leave It. When we come back, I've got some thoughts on the goings-on in Starkville, Mississippi right now. We'll get to those next on the Hunt Palmer Show.
Every business is different, but B1 Bank knows that every business owner has similar needs. From streamlining accounts receivables to maintaining access to working capital, a trusted bank is your best asset for staying on top of day-to-day finances and planning for future business growth. At B1 Bank, I know I have access to commercial banking experts who care about the needs of my business and can guide me to accomplish my goals. B1 Bank knows that managing your business isn't simple, but they can help you make it uncomplicated.
This is a house call. This is a follow-up appointment. This is a diabetes checkup. This isn't just more convenient care, it's more advanced care. This is innovating healthcare at Louisiana's #1 hospital, Ochsner.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana loyal. Always.
It's no secret. The best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar. Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavor and oysters from all over the country. And don't forget our nightly drink specials. Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar, located in downtown Baton Rouge.
Eli's always been into grilling. It took us a while to see it, but the signs were there.
What are you doing, Eli?
I knew grilling was my thing. I have been talking about it throughout my career.
Happy with the results?
I am. Got the new grill from barbecueguys.com. It performed great.
My advice, as I always told my boys,
do more of what you're born to do.
Barbecue Guys, for those who were born to grill.
You want cheese on your burger, Pops?
I'll take a little cheese.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Hey, it's Hunt. Join me 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock on Wednesday. J.D. Pickell of On 3 Sports will join us to talk college football, Tigers on the hardwood, and the Pels, plus the transfer portal. Hunt Palmer Show, 1 to 3 weekdays, 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Well, one thing I said earlier this hour is out the window. I said Kamari Rogers, former LSU commitment who's leaving Miami, being played as a corner, he has just found a new school pretty quickly. And it is Mississippi State. Mississippi State with 2 cornerback commitments in as many days. Obviously, you know what's gone on in Starkville, Mississippi with the passing of Mike Leach. And so I want to be very clear. I understand that football is not of the utmost importance in this situation. That goes really without saying, but I will say it. And the Leach family has some real grieving to do. The Mississippi State family has some real grieving to do. But they are going to play in the bowl game coming up. And Mississippi State football will go on. So I kind of wanted to give a brief thought on what the future looks like for the Mississippi State football program. And it's an interesting place because they don't have an athletic director. You're aware that John Cohen left to go be the Auburn AD less than a month ago. So Mississippi State is still in the process of trying to find an athletic director, and they've got a vacancy atop their football program. Now, Zach Arnett is the defensive coordinator and is the interim head coach, and no doubt is spearheading the recruiting efforts here as they've pulled in a couple of commitments. And my belief is that they will allow him to be the head coach. I think that's probably what's going to happen. He's done a nice job with their defense. He's a hot name. LSU, of course, interviewed him when they ended up hiring Durante Jones. And I think he will eventually be the head coach at Mississippi State. But I wanted to give some other thoughts on what I would do if I was running the Mississippi State football program. And one name that immediately came to my mind, although it's very unlikely, is Cliff Kingsbury. You know that Cliff played for Mike Leach, coached under Mike Leach. He was actually the offensive coordinator Johnny Manziel's sophomore year when Texas A&M just absolutely blitzed some of the record books. Not the 10-2 season, but their offense was really good in Manziel's second year. They led the SEC in rushing, passing, total offense, scoring offense, and they were only offense in the country that was in the top 15 in all 4 of those categories when he was the offensive coordinator at Texas A&M. The run at Texas Tech did not go exceptionally well from a wins and losses perspective. He was 35-40 in his 6 years as the coach there. And obviously, he's got a job now. He's with the Cardinals. And they just gave him a contract extension through 2027. The Cardinals stink. They got the first pick in the draft when Kingsbury got the job, and they took Kyler Murray. He's been there 4 years. They were 5-10-1, 8-8. Then the next year, they started out 8-0. You're going, wow, they kind of got this thing in gear. Well, they finished that season 3-6, winning 11-6 and lost in the first round of the playoffs to the Rams. And then this year they're 4-9, and Kyler just tore his ACL, so it's probably not going to go great moving forward there. I don't know if the Cardinals are interested in making a move or not. And I'm also not insinuating that Mississippi State has to pigeonhole itself into the air raid. It's not Navy. But it just would make some sense to me. Kingsbury's got some significant name recognition now. He's been a head coach in the NFL. If he were to be let go, I think that would be a call that would make some sense. Sonny Cumbie's going to come on with Matt coming up here on After Further Review. He's in the Leach tree as well, but the year number 1 at Tech didn't go so well. Just my thought. Maybe Cliff Kingsbury, if he gets let go, you just kind of pick up where you left off. Will Rogers is there. You got the air raid installed. Arnett's your defensive coordinator. Rock and roll. But you usually don't extend a coach for 5 years in the summer and then fire him 5 months later. You could. But it was just a thought that I had. Again, it'll be interesting to see what Mississippi State does here. The caveat remains, and the disclaimer that I gave earlier, much more important to be concerned with Mike Leach's family and the grieving they've got to go through. But the football team will continue to go on, and I think it's interesting to see what they'll do without an athletic director and what direction they want to go in. When you have an offense that is different like that, making the switch is tough. Ask Georgia Tech when they were running the triple option under Paul Johnson forever, and you try to go get a new coach, and you got a bunch of players that were recruited to do that, and if you don't do it, it gets really tough. So that's kind of what Mississippi State's looking at here as they look into the future here of that Bulldog program. That's it for hour number 1. If you missed any, you can catch it on demand, 1045ESPN.com's on-demand page, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, it's all there. Open with some basketball thoughts on LSU and North Carolina Central. J.D. Pickell of On3 Sports with us, like he is every single Wednesday. Recruiting update as well. Hour 2 is locked and loaded. Brady Miller when we come back. Looking at some basketball infractions as well. Ready to roll. Come back with us after Sports Center. Hunt Palmer Show.
Bayou Ford has $10,000 off MSRP on a new 2022 Ford F-150, plus no payments for 90 days and 2.9% APR for 72 months. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. If you need sales or service, the crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
We get it done with strength, commitment, dedication, grit.
We get it done with passion for our fans
and love for our community. We are
the Tigers.
Get it done.
Let the values of the purple and gold be in your starting lineup this season. And as always, get it done.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Time doesn't stop, and the world keeps spinning. Community, culture, and communications, the powerful circle that connects us together. We're creating the next evolution, a network built for every possibility, moving faster than ever before, streaming us forward into the future. And the revolution is closer than you think. RTC, ETEL, and Vision are now Rev. New name, same company.
Winter can be magical. The Mercedes-Benz Winter Event is here, and there's no better time to check out our new Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge inventory. We have the vehicles that can make your holiday extraordinary. See all the latest technological features on the newest models during our Mercedes-Benz Winter Event. Shop our best of the best award-winning dealership. Visit mbobr.com.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Oh, hey, what's up? It's Big D and Bubba, 100.7 The Tiger Morning Show. We'd love for you to join us every weekday, 4 a.m. till 9 a.m.
Yeah, everything you want in a show. Country music. We got laughs. We got celebrity in-studio guests. We just need you.
Join us every weekday morning, 4 a.m. to 9 a.m., right where it all started.
That's right. Louisiana's country station, 100.7 The Tiger.
ServiceMaster Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact ServiceMaster Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. Service Master Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. At the World Cup semifinals, France leads Morocco 1-0 at halftime. The winner will take on Argentina in Sunday's final. As the Jets prepare for quarterback Mike White to start Sunday versus the Lions, Coach Robert Saleh announced that Zach Wilson will be the backup QB. Wilson was benched after struggling badly in the Week 11 loss. Dolphins receiver Tyreek Hill continuing to deal with an ankle injury, but is expected to play in Saturday night's showdown against the Bills. Miami looking to bounce back after back-to-back losses. A couple of reasons behind the Dolphins' mini slide, points out ESPN's Dominique Foxworth.
Part of the problem in the last couple of weeks is the defenses they played against have played better, but Tua also has been antsy in the pocket, and I think that speaks to him being kind of an operator of a machine, and when that machine goes a little off kilter, then he doesn't exactly know what to do, and they can't have success, which is kind of been the issue with them so far.
Miami is 2 back of AFC East leading Buffalo. NBA Hornets point guard LaMelo Ball upgraded to questionable tonight against the Pistons, reports ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski. Ball has missed the last 11 games with a sprained ankle.
Do you own or rent your home? Sure you do. Fortunately, Geico makes it easy to bundle your home and car insurance. It's a good thing, too, because having a home is hard work. Go to geico.com, get a quote, and see how much you could save. Geico.com. Easy.
Now, Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Holding down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge Studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Back into the work week here on a Wednesday. Hope everybody in Louisiana is safe and sound. Some nasty weather rolling through North Louisiana last night, the central part of the state in the morning, kind of now towards the southeastern portion of the state. So if you don't have to be out in the car, don't. Just hang out like we are in here on a Wednesday. Our pleasure to bring in Brody Miller from The Athletic on the Jim's Firearm Hotline. Brody, how are you, sir?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing just fine here as we get through the middle of December. Probably doing better than a lot of college football coaches who are dealing with a lot at the moment. I get this question 100 times. You cover the team very closely and have written about this a little bit, so I'll toss it to you. Why hadn't they fired the special teams coach?
Yeah, I think there's a lot going on there. I think, one, it's tough. I mean, yes, I don't think anyone around LSU would claim that LSU special teams are up to snuff. It's been a disaster. I don't think there's any way around that. But at the same time, I think there is an element of like, okay, here's how I'd put it, and I'm not defending Brian Polian or anything, but we all talked going into this year about how, like, the depth of this LSU team was its weakness. Like, really good talent at the top, but doesn't have any depth. And quite frankly, I mean, that special teams is the depth spot. So as much as, like, you might see some great stuff at, like, receiver and D-line and all that, like, special teams is depth. You're not playing B.J. Jolari out there or anything like that. So I do think that's, like, worth factoring in a little bit that, okay, they lost the kicker after having, like, 5 years of kicker continuity, lost the punter, lost like a long snapper, all that stuff. So I just think that's worth factoring in. It's still not like an excuse. I don't think Brian Polian would sit here and say he's content with how it's done. But then it's also, you got to factor in Brian Polian is Brian Kelly's guy. He's the first guy he brought with him. He's not going to just like loosey-goosey fire him in a situation that I know Brian Kelly views it as, like this is part of the process. And I don't think he viewed that as like necessarily Brian Polian being a mess of his job or anything like that. I think there's some moments that go on. Yeah.
No, I mean, I just, to your point, like there was some talk around here when Les Miles wouldn't change the offense. The engine's pretty stinking good. He was just going to do it his way. I don't feel like that's the case here. I talked to Brian Polian for an assistant coach interview of the week on the pregame show. That's admittedly a fluff piece for 3 minutes where I just tossed softballs at him. I said, how would you characterize the development of the special teams over the course of the season? He was like, I mean, let's just be real. It's been very, very poor. Like he said that to me on the air. Like they know they got to do a lot better next year.
Exactly. And I think they know, like, for example, I know for a fact that, they look back on they lost Trey Palmer, obviously he left. And I remember, and one person said to me, like, that, like, not going out and getting another return man, that was a mistake that they're going to absolutely rectify this cycle. Or, I think there's so many examples of some of the mistakes with like penalties and things of just being like, hey, that's where you see the depth. It is still problematic, but I don't know if it's going to be better. This isn't me being like Brian Polian is the guy who's going to save everything. No, I just think like special teams is an area that you see isolated plays. So when there's a mess up, it is so clear it's a mess up, while like other plays, and does that make sense? Like,
yeah.
It's very highlightable. But I'm not, again, it's bad, but I don't think you have to fire the guy year one when it might be some of what he inherited.
College football fans, I think, are very comfortable with the recruiting calendar. You've got your junior days, you've got your camps, you've got official visits, unofficials, and then you've got your signing day and your early signing period and late signing. So we kind of get that. As far as the transfer portal, that's a little bit new, and Brian Kelly has talked about his approach to the transfer portal. It's not just open up the gates and let everybody in. From what you've gathered, what does that process look like when they look to evaluate who to bring in from the transfer portal?
Yeah, I think I think there were some lessons we could have learned from the last one, but even more than that, they slow play things. They are very much like every coach says you want to bring the right guys, right? Like that's a thing. But we saw with Ed Ogeron toward the end, and so many coaches, like it's harder to actually do that when you see the flashy toy. And Brian Kelly, I actually feel confident saying this, and I've seen it up close. He actually does the research. Like their staff is trained to like meet with the teachers, meet with every like extra person who knows them, and do the vetting of whether a guy's actually a good character fit, whether he is the right kind of guy to bring into their program. And I think you saw that last cycle and that's almost an abbreviated version because they were coming in late. They had to bring in 17, 16 guys. It was like a whirlwind, but they still slow played it till like January and February and March of kind of making sure guys were the right fits. And that's how you got your Mekhi Wingos, your Greg Brookses, guys who not just were good, but were your main leaders. And that's my main answer to your question is they've obviously got, a solid handful. I think they're coming up on 10 offers by now. They're offering guys, but at the same time, they are very methodical about making sure it's not going to mess up kind of the momentum I think they've built, because we all talk about accountability and all that, and that's not nothing. And I think that's a big part of it.
Bernie Miller, our guest from The Athletic. Is there a name or two you think are prime targets and likely players that would join this football program from the transfer portal?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think one to obviously watch, that's a very exciting and flashy and all that, is Aaron Anderson from Alabama. Obviously, the New Orleans kid, was an LSU commit, flipped the Bama after O got fired, or right before O got fired, but still. And yeah, I think, I will reference this, that when a kid's in the portal, they often tell, it says like want to be contacted or don't want to be contacted, and he put do not want to be contacted, which, again, don't want to speculate, but that often means they kind of already know where they're going. And I think LSU has made quick contact on that, and I think LSU is considered the front runner with Aaron Anderson, who, again, I don't know if this is exactly who Brian Polian means when he wants, a return man, but still, he is an elite return talent. So I think he would really be an exciting one. Obviously, a really interesting one to follow is Denver Harris, the 5-star corner from A&M, who had issues at A&M. I mean, that's just the reality. I mean, we have really good reporters who cover A&M for us, The Athletic, and yeah, I don't think he's in the like bad kid, like massive issue or did some terrible thing. But yeah, he got in trouble a good bit. He did some kind of young kid, dumb things, and I think. I believe Shea Dixon reported, and I confirmed that Brian Kelly is having his meeting with Denver Harris today, and that's going to be very, very important to kind of figure out if Kelly feels comfortable with him being the right fit. But after that, yeah, there's a lot of D linemen they're going for from Oregon, from Arizona, from Coastal Carolina, a lot of guys. So it seems like getting one or two at D tackle is going to be important just for depth. Their starters are pretty set, so you need to build that depth. I think they know they need an edge. They got some guys who are interesting at edge right now, but they don't have anyone who I think you're confident is ready to be an SEC starter right now. So I think they do have to keep looking for the right edge as well.
I thought about how I wanted to ask this question. Here's what I settled on.
Ooh.
How important is the quarterback play in the Citrus Bowl to next year's LSU's football team?
Ooh, that's a good question. I don't think Brian Kelly is somebody who judges anything on one data point. You know what I mean? So I think my quick answer would be, not incredibly monumental, but of course there's factors to this, right? Like if Jaden Daniels doesn't go, because there's probably no need to like rush him if he's hurt or something, like if he's not 100%, and Nussmeier tears it up again and Daniels comes back, I think it's pretty reasonable just to be like, hey, it might make sense for Gary Nussmeier to go to the portal because he has good tape out there and he can go prove he's the guy. Some people around LSU feel pretty confident that Jaden Daniels might come back. Others aren't so sure. But so I think that's kind of what you're alluding to.
Yeah.
But it's just tough because so much of it really is just like comes down to the thinking of the kid. And, I know I've been told Gary Nussmeier's a kid who gets it. Like he gets that, like, there's a long term to this and like being developed and being ready when you start is a big, but at the same time, being ready to be like, hey, I'm going to wait 3 years. That's tough, man. That's really tough. So I don't know the answer, but it will be very interesting to see what happens.
Last one here. Appreciate your time, Brody. Any sense of what Jaquelin Roy's future may hold?
Yeah, not a ton. I'll be honest. I've been trying to kind of gain some information on that. I haven't gotten a great sense. It's like his stock isn't great. He's not in any first-round mocks anymore. I haven't even seen him in like the, talking to our Dame Brugler, things like that. He's probably a second-round guy right now, if I had to guess. But he didn't have the breakout year. He had a good year. But Kelly talked often about like, consistency was tough with him. In some moments he'd be great, but they were looking on him to be, reliable day to day. And again, you look at Kayshon Boutte coming back, you look at some others, it's like, I do think Kelly and his staff have done a good job of kind of like selling what coming back can do and selling how like proving, I don't know, how one coming back shows something character-wise. I think he's very good at kind of playing that game with guys. So I wouldn't rule it out. I don't think so. But at the same time, like, if he is a second-round grade, that's also hard to say no to, even though some thought it would be first. But I don't have a great answer for you there. It's a good question.
That was a good answer. Maybe we'll get some clarity here as things move. That used to be a thing we worried about after the bowl game. Now it's right after Thanksgiving. We've got to deal with it. So
all timelines have just been completely ruined forever now.
They really have. Appreciate your
At
thoughts,
least we have
Brady.
a transfer window now.
That does, for sure. And I don't envy the college football coaches this time of year at all. Thanks for your time, man.
Yeah, thanks, Louis. Take care.
He is Brody Miller of The Athletic. Some great stuff over at The Athletic. Brody had a good piece up on the transfer portal. Gave his thoughts right there. Said that that Anderson is a guy that put on his transfer portal name, "Do not contact." I like to, you do a little bit of self-deprecating humor here, and maybe it's just a gross negligence on my part. I didn't even know you had the option of going to the transfer portal and saying, "Hey, I want to hear from you," or "Hey, I don't." But you live and learn. And Brody gave me something that I did not know as of 3 minutes ago. So sounds like that he may be a guy that is kind of zeroed in. That'd be fine with me. Anything that you take out of Tuscaloosa and put into Baton Rouge is generally a good thing. So we'll see. And then, as you mentioned, Shea Dixon's reported and that Brody has as well, and then confirmed Denver Harris meeting with Brian Kelly today to kind of see how things go there. My thoughts on that matter have been pretty public, but we'll see what Brian Kelly decides after that meeting goes final. Some SEC basketball thoughts, take it or leave it, coming up a little bit later. But next, Arizona got its ruling from the IARP on the basketball scandal. That leaves Kansas and LSU. What did we learn from that ruling today that you can apply to LSU basketball? I'll tell you next on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is on Palmer.
One Bath and Closets, onebathandclosets.com. David Duvall and his team have been in the business for 3 decades, redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. One Bath and Closets, they're licensed contractors. They can do everything from knocking out a wall and opening things up to simply just helping you use your space more efficiently. Sometimes I'll just look at your closet and say, hey, you've got enough space here. Let's put some cubbies. Let's put a little bit of a rack. We got a mirror right here. And just use that space a little bit more efficiently so that you can get on your day without that ridiculous clutter that's in so many of our closets. If your bathroom is not up to date or you just would like a little bit of shot of a life in there, you don't want to move. It's not a great time to move right now. You look at the way rates are in the market there. You can change your living situation with a new bathroom. Maybe it's as simple as a tub to shower conversion. Pull that tub out, put a gorgeous walk-in glass shower right there. Go to onebathandclosets.com. Check out the testimonials there. They will tell you how great a job David and his team do. They'll be there on time. They'll be there on schedule. They'll move things along, and they'll update you on the process each and every step of the way. And I can promise you this over at One Bath and Closets. They're not going to cut corners to get to the next job. They're going to do it right the first time and leave the competition behind. One Bath and Closets, David Duvall and his team, 30% off your closet remodel if you tell them that the Hunt Palmer Show sent you over there. 30% off that closet remodel, not an insignificant amount of money. Website again, onebathandclosets.com, onebathandclosets.com.
Winter can be magical. The Mercedes-Benz winter event is here, and there's no better time to check out our new Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge inventory. We have the vehicles that can make your holiday extraordinary. See all the latest technological features on the newest models during our Mercedes-Benz winter event. Shop our best of the best award-winning dealership. Visit mbobr.com.
Hi, I'm Brandon Landry, founder and CEO of Walk.
Hi, my name is Dr. Craig Green.
This is Ryan Terrio with HUDCORoofing.com.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. No matter how big your commercial roofing job, HUDCO can help.
My patients come to me because they trust that I can get the job done at a high level. Ryan Terrio and Richard Tilley have the same level of trust when it comes to roofing.
If you have a roofing issue, call HUDCO Roofing.
Give us a call, 364-1007, and we'll come to your house and give you a free inspection.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
This is a house call. This is a follow-up appointment. This is a diabetes checkup. This isn't just more convenient care, it's more advanced care. This is innovating healthcare at Louisiana's #1 hospital, Ochsner.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana loyal. Always.
For a special NFL triple header this Saturday. The Vikings host the Colts at noon, then the Browns host the Ravens at 3:30, followed by the Bills and the Dolphins at 7:15 p.m. Then on Sunday, the Jets host the Lions at noon, all on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Raise your hand if you're listening to the show and you have not paid a single bit of attention to Southeastern Conference basketball this season. Probably a sizable amount of you. I will give you a 9-minute crash course on all things SEC basketball coming up in the next segment. Just a total catch-up. You'll know where everybody is, and then we'll get on with SEC basketball season. Sound good? We can do it. Speaking of getting on with it, the IARP really never does that. It's the recently formed committee to help deal with these infractions cases in college basketball. It's so bad at its job that they've determined once they get all of these things out of the way, they're getting rid of it. They got to get Arizona out of the way. They got to get Kansas out of the way. They got to get LSU out of the way. Well, they ruled on Arizona today. And I will give you their findings as well as what the punishment was. Arizona got caught up in this same deal. Wiretaps, money offerings. It was a whole deal. And Sean Miller held on for a while. And then they started losing a bunch of games and they fired him. So the ruling is out. And Arizona got the following. a 10-year show cause for Book Richardson, the assistant coach, who was highlighted in this investigation. A 2-year show cause for Mark Phelps, and no sanctions at all for Sean Miller. The school goes on 3 years probation, the usual $5,000 in fines, and then some. I mean, they get apparently there was a self-imposed ban for the 2020-21 season that was given significant weight in the decision. Now, LSU did not self-impose a postseason ban, so that's not apples to apples. They did fire their coach, which Arizona did not until he started losing. LSU fired him for the allegations. So in my estimation, LSU did make a good faith effort once the allegations came down. And Arizona said, yeah, okay, we'll set out the tournament. The coaches involved, Book Richardson and Mark Phelps, got hammered with show causes, 10 years and 2 years. Who was involved on the LSU side? You know, it was Will Wade. He got fired. He's also going to get a monster show cause. It appeared to me from the start that the NCAA wanted Will Wade. Now, Will Wade was attached to LSU, so you can do the math and say they wanted to get to LSU. Wade was the guy. Coaches don't like him. Media doesn't like him. The NCAA doesn't like him. And there's good reason for that. He's brash. He's outspoken. And he was caught on a federal wiretap saying, I made him a damn strong offer, quote, more than the league minimum. They dug and dug and dug, and they found stuff, and he got fired. So the parallels to this one are not apples to apples in every situation with Arizona, but I'll lay them out like this one more time. The coaches involved, Phelps and Richardson, fired, show causes. Move it over to LSU. The coach involved, Will Wade, fired, gonna get a show cause. Not involved in the wiretap, Sean Miller. Not involved in that situation. I'll just throw it out there. Scott Woodward, Matt McMahon. No sanctions for Sean Miller today. I think LSU is okay from that perspective. Now, Arizona self-imposed a postseason ban, which LSU did not, and that's the one thing we don't want. I don't think LSU's a tournament team, but you don't want the ban. Certainly don't want one for next year. That's even worse, because then it hurts your recruiting for next year. But LSU did not self-impose a ban, so maybe they do, but I would equate that to firing the coach. They compromised that season. LSU compromised the next season. They fired their coach. The whole program got gutted. All the players left. All the recruits left. So Arizona basically got nothing. The current Arizona basketball program literally got nothing other than a $5,000 fine, which is pocket change, and probation, 3 years. If LSU gets out of this with a $5,000 fine and 3 years probation, I'll be dancing. And LSU might be dancing next March. Every single time this committee rules, it's fairly inconsequential. Now, this does not mean that LSU's ruling will be as inconsequential. They can do whatever they want. This is not like a block in the back or having 12 men on the field. Block in the back, 15-yard penalty from the spot of the foul. Too many men on the field, 10-yard penalty. Replay the down. We know what those infractions create in terms of a penalty. Obviously, this isn't on-field penalties. But you get the point. There is precedent, and there's a lay of the land, law of the land you have to follow in that vein on the football field. In this one, they can do whatever they want. 3-year postseason ban. It took you 3 years to fire the coach. We found all this stuff y'all were doing. Nobody let go of him. You let him keep coaching. You won a bunch of games. We hate you. You get a bigger... You can't stop him. You can appeal. But the more this stuff happens, the more it appears that LSU cutting ties with Will Wade is going to likely mean that LSU is not in any significant trouble moving forward. And I know there are so many LSU fans that are mad at the administration for taking a successful basketball program and throwing it away when you could have fought the NCAA, who almost never wins. I understand that line of thinking. It's not the way Scott Woodward thinks. Scott Woodward thinks, I didn't hire this guy. He's got LSU in huge trouble. We've been under a microscope like a bunch of ants running around for 3 years. It never seems to go anywhere. And look at all this stuff they found. You're out of here. I can do better than this. Whether he can or not, I don't know. Matt McMahon's future is a totally open book. I'm certainly not going to judge him when he had to put together a roster in 40 days with no players. There's been some good this year. There's been some not good this year. And I think the not good's going to outweigh it in the conference because I just don't think they have the horses. That's my opinion. That has nothing to do with what is going to go on over the next 4 years here in Baton Rouge with the basketball program. That is very difficult to try to prognosticate. It's not that difficult to look at what this IARP has done and say, man, it would be a real surprise to me personally if LSU got hammered by this committee, which is about to dissolve. All that this committee has to do now is deal with Kansas and LSU. So the indication would be that this should not take that long. They've dragged it and dragged it and dragged it, drug it, whatever they've done with it, on and on. They only have 2 left before the whole committee ceases to exist. It's not like they're about to pick up a bunch more cases they got to deal with. The docket's not full. There's 2 things left. Figure it out. The people that I talk to, and I rarely use terms like that in terms of sources, whatever, but I did have a couple of conversations about this situation. Everyone kind of looked at spring of 23. I don't know if that means semester. January, February, March, April, May, June. I don't know, but the first half of 2023 is what it seemed like. And if the past is any indication of what the future will be, they suspended Wade right before the Vanderbilt game when they won the league and didn't let him coach in the tournament. They announced this deal right before the NCAA tournament last year, and Wade got fired. They've been very opportune with their timing. So would it surprise me at all if they announced, hey, February 17th, you guys are suspended and can't play in the postseason? No. It would surprise me way more if they came down and said, by the way, you owe us 4 scholarships over the next 3 years and you have a 2-year postseason ban. That would surprise me. It would not surprise me if they came down and said, hey, you guys are toast as of February. I thought that was going to be a big deal last year when I thought LSU was going to have a great basketball team this year. Now that I've seen this team on the floor, which is playing hard, which does have some good pieces and has won a lot of games, I don't think they're going to the tournament, so it may not be as big a deal. What would really be a bummer is if LSU got off to a 4-11 conference start and then the NCAA came in and said, yeah, by the way, you're suspended from the postseason next year. That would suck. But again, there's no exact science to this. They decide what they want to do. But every indication as rulings continue to come out is that they don't do squat. And that's what they did today to Arizona. Squat. Kansas and LSU are next. I don't have any indication as to who's first or who's second. Doesn't appear that it should take that long. They ought to be able to mow through it pretty quickly, but I don't trust them to do anything. And certainly this committee has proven itself to be totally useless in its time, which is why it's going away. But I think for LSU basketball, pretty good news today, if I had to guess, as Arizona gets a whole pile of nothing. Speaking of basketball, when we come back, I'll get you caught up on a month and a half of SEC basketball in 8 minutes. Do that next on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
We get it done with strength, commitment, dedication, grit. We get it done.
With passion for our fans.
And love for our community. We are the Tigers.
Get it done.
Let the values of the purple and gold be in your starting lineup this season. And as always, get it done.
It's no secret. The best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar. Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavor and oysters from all over the country. And don't forget our nightly drink specials. Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar, located in downtown Baton Rouge.
Eli's always been into grilling. It took us a while to see it, but the signs were there.
What are you doing, Eli?
I knew grilling was my thing. I have been talking about it throughout my career.
Happy with the results?
I am. Got the new grill from barbecueguys.com. It performed great.
My advice, as I always told my boys,
do more of what you were born to do.
Barbecue Guys, for those who were born to grill.
You want cheese on your burger, Pops?
I'll take a little cheese.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Time doesn't stop, and the world keeps spinning. Community, culture, and communications, the powerful circle that connects us together. We're creating the next evolution, a network built for every possibility, moving faster than ever before, streaming us forward into the future. And the revolution is closer than you think. RTC, ETEL, and Vision are now Rev. New name, same company.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Wednesday's Hump Day AFR presented by Pluckers. We'll take a closer look at the Falcons as they come into the Dome, the latest from the transfer portal, Tigers and Pels basketball recaps. It's all on Wednesday's AFR 3 to 6. 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
I don't want to make empty promises, so I will not promise you, the listener, that I can keep my composure in the last segment of this show. I should be able to keep my composure in this segment, though. SEC basketball power rankings may not be a weekly thing, but I think there's a lot of LSU fans who have not paid attention at all to SEC basketball. So I'm just going to run through what I think are 1 to 14 in this league, give you a quick thumbnail on everybody, and you'll be caught up to speed on what's going on in the Southeastern Conference with basketball, as we're about a week and a half away from getting things cranked up in SEC play, where LSU gets a pretty brutal draw there with Arkansas and Kentucky right out of the gate. So let's talk about the power rankings in the SEC. We'll start at the top, as we did with football each and every Wednesday. Bama, I think, is the best team in the league right now. They're 9-1. Beat Michigan State by 11, beat North Carolina, won at number 1 at the time, Houston, by 6 points. They beat Memphis last night. Their one loss was to UConn by 15 points, but they're very, very good. They shoot it great. Again, they've got one of the best freshmen in the country. They've just built a really nice program over there in Tuscaloosa. And while nobody's perfect in the league, can't have a perfect basketball team, Alabama has a lot of skins on the wall, and I think that they're playing better than anybody in the league right now. This may be a little bit controversial to some, but I've got Arkansas at 2. They're also 9-1, beat Oklahoma and San Diego State, which were nice wins. Their only loss on the year was by 3 to a good Creighton team. One thing to watch with Arkansas, Trevon Brazile is their big man. He was at Missouri as a freshman last year. Long, lanky, great athlete, shot blocker, dunker. He tore his ACL a couple weeks ago, so he's out for the season. But Ricky Council has been awesome for them, the freshman guard. Leads the SEC in scoring. He's sensational. Was a 5-star recruit that Musselman brought in. They've got a lot of talent. So losing Brazil is going to hurt them, but they're very, very good. So I got Bama 1, Arkansas 2. I've got Tennessee at 3. They've won 8 straight since their loss to Colorado. They held Maryland to 53 points. They're ranked. They held Kansas to 50 points. They held Butler to 45 points. They're third in the nation in scoring defense. They have the number 1 defensive efficiency score in the country. They are a nightmare defensively. Josiah Jordan-James is back. Santiago Vescovi is back. They brought in some big-time recruits, including Julian Phillips, who was committed to LSU for a long time as a 5-star. They are a nightmare to try to score against. I mean, you hold Kansas to 50 points, Maryland to 53, Butler to 40. That's real defense. I think that does carry over to league play. They're excellent defensively, so I've got Tennessee at number 3. I've got Kentucky at 4. They're number 3 in the country in defensive efficiency, number 29 in offensive efficiency, a balanced attack for Cal. You know the headliners. Oscar Tshiebwe was the National Player of the Year last year. He leads the SEC in rebounding again. He's just a nightmare down there with offensive rebounds, putbacks, and what he does around the rim. Xavier Wheeler is a really good point guard, and they've got some guys around him that can score. Toppin is back as a great athlete and a long defender. They're good. 7-2, gotten knocked around a couple times this year, but they're a good basketball team. So I've got Kentucky at 4. My top 4: Bama, Arkansas, Tennessee, and Kentucky. Auburn is 8-1. I've got them at 5th. They are pretty untested. They haven't played a great non-conference schedule. They did lose at Memphis, but Wendell Green and KD Johnson are great guard play. And Johnny Broome is their big man in the middle. He's scoring 11 points and 8 rebounds, and he also leads the SEC in blocked shots. So they've got another shot blocker down there. Not necessarily exactly in the mold of Walker Kessler, but Johnny Broome's really good. So I trust Bruce Pearl to put a good team on the floor in the spring. They have not had a great non-conference schedule, but they are very good. I've got them at 5th. This is probably not right. This is going to change when they play some better teams. But I've got Mississippi State at 6. They're 9-0. They're 3rd in the country in defensive efficiency. They're allowing 49.8 points per game. The most they've given up in any game this year through 9 is 55 points against Marquette. Tolu Smith is a really, really good big. Chris Jans is a good coach that they've brought in after Ben Howland. He's been fired, so they've got a new head coach in there. They're playing great defense over at Mississippi State, so I've got them at 6. I've got Ole Miss at 7. They're 7-2, haven't been tested really, but their backcourt's going to be good when it's healthy. Matthew Morrell is a McDonald's All-American. He was a good player for him last year. Deshaun Ruffin is a really good player. He's been hurt. Now he's back. This is a big season for Kermit over there at Ole Miss, and I think it doesn't look like a tournament team to me when I've watched them twice, but they do have good guards, and there are some really bad teams that we're gonna talk to you about at the end. Ole Miss is not that right now. I've got them 7th. A lot of expectation on Buzz Williams' team this year in College Station. I've got them at 8. They have very, very much underachieved. They were ranked at one point. If you remember last year, Texas A&M was a team that was pretty mediocre all year and then got hot late and won a couple games, and they got all the way to the championship game of the Southeastern Conference tournament and decided they should have been in the tournament. They shouldn't have been in the tournament. They lost a ton of games, and they were the first team left out. And so they brought just about everybody back, and they've been bad. They got absolutely smoked by Boise State, Murray State, and Colorado. None of the games were close at all. So they've got some guys that play hard. Buzz coaches them hard. They're not NBA talented, so they will win some league games, but they're not a tournament team again this year. 6-3, and that Buzz experiment has not gone super awesome over in College Station. I've got LSU at 9 here. I think that's where I'll slot the Tigers. You know about this team with LSU. They're really struggling to score, but they do have veteran players. I think KJ Williams is a good SEC player. I think that Juice Hill can run the point in the SEC. I think Adam Miller will score a little bit, and we'll see what Coleman and Hayes give LSU night in and night out, not just 2 times. But I think 9th is fair for this team. At 10, I've got Missouri. They are 9-1. Look, they came into the Kansas game undefeated. They were number 3 in the nation in offensive efficiency, number 5 in shooting percentage, number 16 in threes made per game. Their offense was firing on all cylinders against bad teams. Would it carry over to the Kansas game? No. They got hammered by Kansas. So while the metrics look very good for Missouri, I'm not ready to buy into that just yet. So I've got them at number 10. At number 11, I've got Florida. Mike White out. They went and got Coach Golden. UConn beat them by 21. They went to West Virginia and got beat by 29. They lost to FAU. Alex Fudge, former LSU Tiger, is an impact guy for Florida this year, but they're low on talent for the Florida Gators. That's a team that we know under Donovan, and even under Mike White, they had some talent. They just didn't put it together really under Mike White outside of that one tournament run. I think they made the Elite Eight one year. I think it was his first year, quite honestly. But they don't have the talent this year, so I've got them at 11. Just gotten beat too badly too many times. I've got Georgia for 12. This is where you start to get some really bad basketball teams. Mike White's first year at Georgia, they're not good. They're 7-3. Wake and Georgia Tech beat them. UAB beat them. In that UAB game, Eric Gaines had 14 points and 8 assists. Georgia they have not been talented in years. Tom Crean could not recruit there, and Mike White's playing with less than a stacked deck, to be quite clear. So I've got Georgia at 12. These last 2 teams are absolutely brutal in SEC play. South Carolina's 5-4. They lost to George Washington by 24. They lost to Furman by 19 points. They lost to Colorado State by 32. Again, George Washington beat them by 24. Furman beat them by 19, and Colorado State beat them by 32. South Carolina moved on from Frank Martin. They're awful this year, so not going to win a lot of league games. And this is really surprising to me, to be quite honest. I don't pretend to follow the recruiting that closely and know what the transfer portal looks like and exactly what the talent level is. But I thought Vanderbilt ran some pretty good stuff last year. They were pretty tough. Scottie Pippen was, of course, their leader over there. He's moved on to the NBA. And I thought Jerry Stackhouse was a pretty good fit over there and was going to get it righted. He might. It's not right now. They are the worst team in the league. They are 5-5. Listen to this. On their home floor, the Southeastern Conference is 70-6 this year. Vandy's 3-3. That means the rest of the league is 67-3. You have tied the rest of the league in home losses. That includes a loss last Friday, yes, to Grambling. Vandy let Grambling go up to Nashville and beat them. Vandy scored 48 points on Southern Miss in their second game. This team should not be this bad this deep into the Stackhouse tenure. 5-5 with 3 losses on your home floor, including one to Grambling. That is unacceptable. And that's where Vandy is right now. So once again, for those who hadn't been paying attention, here's my power rankings of the SEC in basketball to this point. I got Bama as the best team in the league. Beating Michigan State, North Carolina, and number 1 Houston beat Memphis last night. They're tested. They're good. They're talented. They got pros. They're going to be a really tough out. Arkansas, deep and loaded, even with their injury to Brazil there at 2. Tennessee's tenacious on defense at 3. Kentucky's got their usual really good talent at 4. Auburn at 5. Mississippi State's been great on defense. I've got them at 6. Ole Miss at 7. A&M underachieving at 8. LSU at 9. Missouri at 10, played great offense this year outside of Kansas. We'll see how that translates. Number 11, Florida, 1 year past the Mike White era. Georgia, year 1 of the Mike White era. I've got them at 12. South Carolina at 13, and Vanderbilt at 14. That ought to catch you up on the Southeastern Conference here. So start talking a little bit more basketball as we move forward. Tigers with 2 more non-conference games before they crank things up with Arkansas and the PMAC and then a trip to Rupp. So just a punch in the face from the Southeastern Conference to this basketball program. But that's where I've got things as they sit today. Go to the Bayou Ford chat. LSU Sports Fanatic says Hunt picks Bama number one in everything. They haven't been number one in my power rankings in weeks in football. Weeks. So, yeah, I think they're the best basketball team in the league. My apologies. I wish they weren't. I don't like Nate Oates at all, but facts are facts. This isn't a fact, it's an opinion, but that's what I think. Come back and close it out next.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Bayou Ford. I want you to check out that inventory. BayouFord.com. Whether you're in the market for an SUV, the Explorer, which I've had 3 of and I absolutely love. I can very comfortably fit 6 adults, potentially if you got a smaller one, a 7th, right there in the back of my Explorer. Great with the car seat in it. But if you want something bigger, Expedition. My dad's had his Expedition since like 2000, maybe 1999, I think, is how long he's had that Expedition. It's been awesome. If you're in the market for a truck, F-150, F-250, they got them at Bayou Ford. Check out that inventory, BayouFord.com. Maybe you're in the market for a Mustang or a Bronco. Check out that inventory, BayouFord.com. Every single new purchase from Bayou Ford comes with a 1,000,000-mile powertrain warranty. Don't settle. If you don't see exactly what you want on the lot or on the site, have them customize a vehicle for you. They can turn it around in 60 to 90 days and have that thing delivered right to your front door, just like those Christmas presents are rolled in. Bayou Ford can put a brand new car right in your driveway. The inventory is at BayouFord.com. Bayou Ford, where they're going to do right by you.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Light beer shouldn't taste like water. Miller Lite has more taste and only 96 calories. It's Miller time.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next vehicle just the way you want. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1,000,000-mile powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
There's nothing better than tailgating, but it can be a lot of work. So why do it yourself when you don't have to? Let Revelry Sports and Entertainment set up your luxury tailgate on campus. Order what you want and just show up to party. Book your tailgate today at revelryteam.com. Revelry Sports, the official tailgate partner of LSU Athletics.
Oh, hey, what's up? It's Big V and Bubba, 100.7 The Tiger Morning Show. We'd love for you to join us every weekday, 4 a.m. till 9 a.m.
Yeah, everything you want in a show. Country music. We got laughs. We got celebrity in-studio guests. We just need you.
Join us every weekday morning, 4 a.m. to 9 a.m., right where it all started.
That's right. Louisiana's country station, 100.7 The Tiger.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded.
Jimmy out for the Wednesday edition of Game Time. We're live at City Slice Pints and Pizza on Chime Street, just outside the north gates of LSU, sweating all of our action on the 6-screen video wall. It's Game Time, 6 to 8 p.m. from City Slice on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
A little Oasis here? Come on. Love to hear it. On a rainy day here in the capital city, throughout Louisiana, really. Hope you're being safe out there on this Wednesday. All right, time to do a little take it or leave it, Taylor Sharp.
Sir, the Pels lost by 20 last night to the Jazz up in Salt Lake. 1 out of 3 between this trip versus the Jazz and the Suns is the goal. Take it or leave it.
I'll leave that. I think the goal should be to win the next 2. You probably weren't going to win all 3, but you've lost 1. You had a bad night shooting, couldn't throw anything in the ocean. You got to pick yourself up tomorrow and go win a game up there in Salt Lake, and then you got to go beat a team you just beat twice last weekend. Is it probable? I would say no, but the goal should be to get 2 of the 3. If you're going to be a team that thinks of itself as one of the best teams in the West, that would, I think, be the goal.
The San Francisco Giants have signed Carlos Correa to a 13-year, $350 million deal. Another rebuilding year for the Chicago Cubs. Take it or leave it.
Okay, Taylor. Let me ask you a few questions here before I answer this question. Did the Cubs pay Anthony Rizzo?
No, they did not. He left.
He left. Okay. Did they pay Chris Bryant and won an MVP?
I don't believe so. He's not there anymore either.
They pay Javi Baez. He got second in MVP.
They did not pay Javi Baez.
He went to the Tigers. That's right. Wilson Contreras. He was the catcher, backstop, the leader through some of the. Did they pay him?
No, they did not.
No, they didn't pay him. Well, those were the guys they had. They decided not to pay anybody. Did they pay Bryce Harper? He was on the market a couple of years ago.
No, Harper's with the Nationals.
Yeah, he was with the Phillies, and they won the pennant.
The Phillies, yeah.
Manny Machado was on the market, big-time shortstop. Did they pay him?
They did not.
Okay. So Justin Verlander, he decided he'd come off a Cy Young World Series championship on the market. Did the Cubs pay him?
Nope, he's with the Mets.
DeGrom, 400 Cy Youngs, throws 100 miles an hour. Did they pay him?
Also not with the Cubs.
Aaron Judge, good center fielder. I heard he hit 62 homers. Did they pay him?
He did. He's returning to the Yankees, though.
That's great. Trey Turner, shortstop. Sounds like a great fit for the Cubs. They don't really have one.
No, he's not going there either.
Carlos Correa. Oh, we just did that one. I guess they didn't pay him. Xander Bogaerts. That's a guy. He was linked to the Cubs. They pay him?
They did not pay him.
They don't pay anybody. Cubs on the team, free agents, they don't pay anybody. Third biggest market in the country. They don't have anybody on the payroll. Hayward's gone. Rizzo's gone. They don't pay anybody. Yes, it's a rebuilding year. If they sign Dansby Swanson and they sign Carlos Rodon, I'll come here and say I was wrong. Great job, Jed. Great job, Tom Ricketts. The Cubs are an embarrassment to the fan base. It is pathetic what they're doing over there. So, yes, I will take a rebuilding year for the Cubs, who refuse to spend money on any players. They'll just field a bunch of draft picks they've taken that take 4 years to get to the big leagues. That's a great plan. That's how you win 60 games.
Sticking with baseball, Baseball America's Jim Callis put out his Major League Draft big board. Dylan Cruz, number 1 on that board with Paul Skeens at 4th. Ice down the Bud Lights at Barrett's Barley Corn for June. Take it or leave it.
You got to take it. Barrett's, baby. That's making me feel a little bit better.
I'll take it.
I got a pact with my dad. Next time the Cubs. Next time the LSU Tigers go to Omaha, we're going. We'll be at Barrett's with some cold Bud Lights. LSU with 2 of the top 4 players on Jim Callis's Baseball America big board. That's a big deal. It's a loaded roster, by the way. You know that.
Ohio State running back Travion Henderson will miss the Peach Bowl versus Georgia. Too big of a hit for Ohio State to overcome. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it when you combine it with Jackson Smith.
I'll take it.
You're not going to run it on Georgia anyway. Yeah, Travion Henderson would be really nice, but I don't think they're going to line up and pound away at Georgia's defense. It's going to be C.J. Stroud if they're going to be competitive in that game. He's going to have to throw the ball to Marvin Harrison, get the ball down the field. That's how you're going to have to beat Georgia, like LSU was trying to do, throwing for a bunch of yards. You're going to have to play a little bit better defense and not give up 50 if you're going to beat them. So it's terrible for Ohio State not to have 2 of their top 3 playmakers in the game. But I don't think this is the one that is the death blow. It's the fact that they may not have him and a wide receiver that makes it a big deal.
Coastal Carolina quarterback Grayson McCall has entered the transfer portal and will reportedly visit Auburn. McCall will be Hugh Freeze's first starter on the Plains. Take it or leave it.
I will take it. I think they will end up with him, and I think he will be Hugh Freeze's guy. If you can make Bo Wallace into a very productive quarterback, you can probably do it with Grayson McCall too. We know that he worked some wonders with Chad Kelly. Malik Willis was great. He's been a good quarterback coach wherever he has been calling plays. Beat Arkansas this past year as well. So, look, McCall's been a very productive player at Coastal, taking care of the football, made mature plays. I think Hugh Freeze will do a good job with him. I just think he's a better player than Robbie Ashford, even though Hugh Freeze can do some damage with the running quarterback as well. So, I think that's going to be their guy, and we'll see how things go and materialize from there. That is Take It or Leave It here on a Wednesday. If you missed any of the show, catch it on demand, 1045ESPN.com. You go to the page, click on demand, go to the Hunt Palmer Show. Everything we do right there on demand. We also are on Apple Podcast or on Spotify. Just search the Hunt Palmer Show. You can find it, and we are also every single day on YouTube. Those of you that are hanging out in the Bayou Ford chat, throw us a like on the way out. We certainly always appreciate that. If you missed today's show, opened up with my thoughts on the basketball game last night, LSU, North Carolina Central. Some good, some bad. My 15-minute spiel on that was in the open. J.D. Piquel talking all things college football at 1:15. Gave you a recruiting update. Jackson McGohan, Lance Hurd, Deshaun Womack getting extra stars, Javian Toviano's announcement, Kamari Rogers. I told you, LSU may look at him. He's already committed to Mississippi State, so that may not be the direction he wants to take, but it's all there in your recruiting update. Brody Miller from The Athletic was with us at the top of hour number 2. I talked about the IRP's ruling on Arizona basketball and what that may mean for LSU at 2:15, and I gave you a catch-up on SEC power rankings for basketball at 2:30, so catch all that on demand. Excited for tomorrow's show. Going to talk to Luke Johnson on the Saints, and Javian Toviano's announcement will be just before our show. Jimmy Ott's Game Time coming at you tonight from 6 to 8. Matt Moscone about to drive you home on AFR. Have a great Wednesday. Stay safe out there. We'll see you tomorrow on the Hunt Palmer Show.